take questions at the end.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Andrew. My name is Monty Brown, and I am the SigmaMRP sales manager. Let's see if I can get my pretty little picture to show up here. There we go. Well, it was there for a second. A little bit of a delay. I am the MRP sales manager for North and South America. So anything, there's no way that I'm able to show you everything in SigmaMRP in this short presentation today. So please absolutely take some notes, take note of our phone numbers and so forth, and I will be happy after this webinar to sit down with each one of you individually and handle any questions. As Andrew said, there will be a brief Q&A at the end also. Today we're going to be discussing building quotes, creating work orders, overview of production control, Andrew, we do appear to have a pretty significant delay. Is the agenda showing yet?
Not yet.
Okay. All right, let's do it this way. Can you see the agenda that way?
Yes.
All right, we'll just play it by this. So I'm going to show you how you build some quotes using SigmaNest and SigmaMRP. I'm then going to turn those quotes into work orders and release those production. We're going to then walk through the actual production using some of our shop floor tools. And then I'm going to show you some easy, simple tools to do shipping and invoicing. And I'm going to do all of this without that big stack of paper that we see sitting there. The title of this presentation is 4 Ways a Fabricator Can Save Money on Throughput. But really, we're just going to save money across the board. One of the big ways here is by stopping all of the typing and retyping through the integration that we have with SigmaMRP. So let me go ahead and get that kicked off. So as I've shown everybody, well, I haven't shown everybody yet, but right now I just got SigmaNest opened up. And if you're not familiar with SigmaNest, we have regular weekly or monthly webinars that show how SigmaNest works. So you're not going to see me using SigmaNest a whole lot, but it is the foundation to this integration with SigmaMRP. So with any quote, you're going to start off with some DXFs, or you can do DWGs. We have the ability to import CATIA files, NX, SolidWorks, pretty much so you name it, we can bring it in. For simplicity, I'm just going to use some DXFs today. I've got 3 DXF files here. Those brought into the workspace. We can see that we do have good geometry on those. And again, I'm not going to be going into all the details of SigmaNest today, but we are happy to share all the knowledge on that we can too. So from the get-go, we haven't even started doing any nesting or anything, but we are already generating costs for this part. We've by default assigned this to the plasma. So SigmaNest knows the cut length, the part path, of course the length, width, weight. It's got that cutting time right there. And it knows that for each of these individual parts. And that's really the key to this integration with quoting with SigmaMRP, is that we are using the same SigmaNest, the same cutting calculations that are driving your machines. Whether it's a plasma, a water jet, a router, a punch, you name it, whatever you've got set up in SigmaNest, those are the costs we're going to use to push on through. As we set up these parts, we have the choice to go ahead and set material, thickness, set our quantity. We also have the ability, we're not even into the MRP software yet, but we have the ability to set a template for what routing is going to be going through, whether it's going to go through bend, go to a drill operation, then go to weld, whatnot. We're going to say this first part's just going to go to bend. And this second part here, we'll have it go to bend also. This third part, we're going to send it to bend and weld. So we're just setting up those operations. Now, we're not typing in any detailed cost yet. That'll come at a later point. But I just wanted to show you that that drop down is right there in SigmaNest. So we get those parts brought in. We've got them in our workspace. I'm going to go ahead and build a quote. We're still in SigmaNest here. In SigmaNest, again, we've got a grid view here that shows your true cost and your rectangular cost. All of this controlled by SigmaNest. We do not have a nested cost here yet because we have not actually created a nest, but we can add that. Just as simple as going into SigmaNest and creating a quick little nest here. Make sure that we're quoting for the plasma. And we are. Just do a quick down and dirty auto nest here. And just like that, we now have the true cost, the rectangular cost, and the nested cost for each one of these parts. You can see here that this first part, the rectangular cost and the nested cost are very similar. And that is because in the nest, you can see we're overlapping some of those parts. True cost and nested cost are quite a bit different for this larger part in here. But we do keep track of that, and you have control over how much scrap you throw into this and how much you don't. We save that, and that's pretty much all we have to do here in SigmaNest. Let me go ahead and clear SigmaNest. So now we've handled the geometry part. We're going to go into SigmaMRP, which is our MRP product. Now this is a product that not only handles quoting, but we're going to push this jobs on through to production. We're going to follow them through production. We're going to get them shipped, and we're going to get them invoiced. And that's what I'm going to show you here now. So the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to start a new job. Real simple. Choose our customer. I'm going to choose Lori over here at Depth Manufacturing. There's lots of other custom data fields in here, but I'm keeping things pretty simple today. So now we've got this new order for Lori. You can see there's no parts in here. Now SigmaMRP does allow you to start adding bearings, buyouts, shapes. We can do your tubes, whatnot. But today we're focusing on the SigmaNest parts. So I want to make it clear that we can absolutely build assemblies. We can bring in buyouts, other materials. But today I'm going to show you how to build some work orders for SigmaNest parts. So we're going to go in here and we're going to find this quote that we just did back in SigmaNest. You can see our 3 parts are still there. So I'm going to add those parts. I'm going to select the material. This is telling me what my material inventory is. And for those of you SigmaNest users, SigmaMRP looks directly at the SigmaNest inventory. So it's not a representation of it. It is the actual inventory. So if you've got remnants, if you've got all kinds of different batches and heat numbers and so forth in there, you're going to see all of that through SigmaMRP. I'm going to go ahead and choose the 60 by 120 1/4 inch for my default. Now, you can still choose whatever you want. With SigmaNest, you're always in charge of how you nest your parts. So now we've got our 3 parts in there. We've got the part images. And again, this is in SigmaMRP. We can drill on into these parts. And we can see that since we chose those router templates earlier, we've already assigned some bending to this part. Now we use the default setup time of 5 minutes and a 1/2 inch per bend, but we could have changed that. It's all set in the default. And let's say that you added a operation that you didn't mean to add. So like, let's say this part here doesn't require any bend. Very simple, go ahead and remove that. This final part, let's say that it's a little bit more complex than the other parts and we needed a longer setup time. So we can go ahead and change that setup time right here on the fly as we're building these parts. So it's going to go from plasma to bend to the MIG. Now we can go ahead and add our margins. I'm going to put in a 20% margin on labor, but 18% on the material, and we're going to leave the shipping as it is. Update all my pricing. And just like that, I have my parts ready to go. Shows your total labor costs, total material costs. But the big thing here is you're ready to quote already. Now, most people, they have to retype this into Excel or type it into another quoting program, but with SigmaMRP, you just move it to the next phase. Just pulling this drop down over here, and I'm moving it to a quote. Upon moving it to a quote, it's going to ask me if I want to print a preview of that quote. I'll say yes. And there's my quote. The reports out of SigmaMRP and SigmaNest are all fully customizable. You can put your images in there. You've got your pricing. You can make this whatever you want for it. Now, the really cool thing is, again, we have not hardly typed anything. We brought in some DXF files. We chose some basic routings. We updated the times a little bit, and now we're ready to email this to our customer. That's just as simple as clicking the email and print. And now I've got Outlook. It automatically pulls up, and we're ready to send that same quote to our customer. Andrew, is this syncing all well? Is there any major lag? Am I going too fast here?
No, Monty, you're fine. It's keeping up.
Okay. Thank you very much. Well, we will continue on. And again, we will have a Q&A here at the end. I know these webinars can get a little frustrating when you can't ask your questions immediately, but we will get to your questions. So now we've got this quote in here. Now let's go back and talk about SigmaMRP just a little bit more. I've got record of all my past jobs here. You can sort these jobs out, look at them all different ways, but we can see the finished ones, the drafts, and so forth. Here's a job that I ran previous today. See, it's got the little SigmaNest symbol in here. It's on order right now. But you always have access to your jobs. So let's go in here and let's say the customer, Lori from Death Manufacturing, called me back. So I'm going to pull this job back up. And she's going to give me a PO for these parts. So we just edit this job, type in our PO number, and just as we very simply built a quote, we're going to very simply turn this into an order. She says she wants the parts due next Tuesday, so I'm going to choose the 13th, and I'm just going to pick this drop down and switch it to order. And just like that, SigmaMRP is going to start doing all the hard lifting in the background, making sure everything's ready to go. And go ahead and print an order confirmation. Again, you have a nice report here with the images. You got your unit pricing, fully customizable. These are just the samples that we show here in SigmaMRP with the installation. Going to schedule that, you have the choice of scheduling forward or scheduling backwards. So if my customer Lori didn't want the parts early, you could select to not cut these until Monday, but I'm going to go ahead and forward schedule so I can go ahead and get it cut. At this point, we have a job in SigmaMRP. We've built the routings. We've got everything out there that needs to be known inside SigmaNest, SigmaMRP. So we're going to go ahead and send these over to SigmaNest. Now the process I'm going to be showing here is going to open up these parts immediately in SigmaNest. And we can now see that this job number 36, that's our job number 36, it's sitting there in SigmaNest ready to go. So for those of you SigmaNest users that have been using work orders, this is going to follow that exact same process. For those of you SigmaNest users who aren't using work orders, we've got some exciting things to show you because you get to see all of that, all of its glory in SigmaNest. So now we can just go ahead and load these parts in to our workspace. And because this is not a SigmaNest webinar, I am just going to use AutoTask, which is a very cool feature that you PowerPack users have. But it automatically builds your tasks for you. I could have loaded 1/4 inch and 1/2 inch all in here at the same time. Click this run button, but it automatically separates my parts into tasks by machine. And it even has the ability to go ahead and auto nest and auto NC and push that job out. So we'll give it a minute to finish running here. And we've done that. So that's a program or task T1046. If we go into our program update, we've got some other jobs out here, but job number, program T1046, which is program 28, has now been released. And back here in SigmaMRP, we do a refresh. You'll see these icons, they switch to the SigmaNest logo. So that now tells you immediately from the jobs menu that we are in SigmaNest at this stage. And let's start looking at the planning now. So we're looking at the planning for job 36, and we can see our individual parts. So remember previously I showed you we had 3 parts. One was plasma bend. So we've got the SigmaNest icon there for the plasma, and then your bending operation is green. Our second part is just plasma. There is no secondary operation. And our third part has the plasma, bend, and a MIG welder. And we can see that neither of these operations are started, but they are planned. So now let's go back to SigmaNest. We have our nest here. Let's go ahead and clear our workspace. For those of you who have not seen Load Manager, I'm going to give you a brief insight into our Load Manager product. Think of SigmaMRP as your capacity planning, letting your salespeople know what's out there so that they don't overbook certain days. But Load Manager is going to be the piece that you actually drag and drop and schedule your machines. You can see I've got my machine set up here. I've got 2 plasmas, I've got an oxy, and then I've got a router sitting over here. Now here's this new job that I just released, that program 28. It's 1/4 inch. I've got some 1/4 inch already running on plasma 2. So I'm going to go ahead and drag that over here. And just like that, I've scheduled that job inside SigmaNest. Now SigmaMRP still knows it's moving. Next product I'm going to show you is one called Color Offload. This is what you would use on your shop floor. Let me refresh and get job 28 showing right back up there. So there's that most recent posted program. Now this program can be run on a PC, it's touchscreen capable, it can be run on a laptop, it can be run on a Windows tablet, you can put it on multiple monitors. We've got some customers that will set this up with a PC with a second monitor closer to where they offload. And the really cool thing about Color Offload is as you start selecting the parts, it highlights them down below. So you've always still got access to your good old e-reports, which should be the layout detail that a lot of you use. But with Color Offload, you don't have to rely on printing paper and so forth. You've got a much more intelligent tool here. So we can come in here, we can see, we can color these parts by part name, by work order, by next operation. That's why it's called Color Offload. The other thing we can do here is we can start and stop this program. So we're going to start a timer. This is as you're hitting start on your machine, you would also click this little timer here, and it's going to keep track of your actual machine time out on the shop floor. Now back here in Load Manager, you can see that this is turned green, and it moved from the end of the list to the beginning because our operator made the decision to move it. Now you have control over whether we want to lock that kind of stuff out, but in my shop we allowed that operator to go ahead and start that job. So it's green, you can see what's coming up next. You can see what's been done. Back here in Color Offload, we are able to reject parts. If we had lost any parts, we could have highlighted the parts that we lost. We're not going to lose any parts today because we're in a short webinar and our plasma is running perfect today. But when we're done with that job, we simply press stop and we hit the update button. Now this is the same update button that a lot of you are using back here in Program Update. Let's show this to you real quick. We could come in here and hit this Program 28 and do this update. But the cool thing about Color Offload, or one of the cool things, is that this is from the shop floor. So instead of having your operators report back to the office, they're going to be clicking in real time telling us that this job is done. So we're going to complete that operation. And this is all going to work through SigmaNest there in the background. Now let's go ahead and look at Let's wait for the server to catch up here. It's going to complete this job and take it off my list. And once it does that, it's going to take it off of Load Manager also. So we can see that now Load Manager has updated and shown that that job is now complete. If we come back here to SigmaMRP, let's do a quick refresh. We can now see that we have actual start and completion times on our plasma part. So we can take this a step further. Color Offload allows you to control your cutting processes, but we also have another tool called Shop Floor Data Capture, and this allows you to control all those secondary operations on the floor that are not controlled by SigmaNest. So this can be bending operations, drill, welding, you name it. You can see I've got a few things set up here. I've got the MIG welder. There's a bending operation. There's my two new jobs that I just released. Now, it told me that I was choosing to work out of order here again, so I have to tell it why I'm working out of order. I'm just going to say other. But I'm going to work on this job number 36. And just like you would expect, you want to tell it that you're starting. If there's a setup time, let's say we spent 4 minutes doing setup, and we allocated 5, so we're ahead of schedule there. And then we just let it run. Back here in SigmaMRP, do a refresh. Let's see which one of those we chose. We chose this operation. You can see this is now turned yellow. So now back here in planning, whether you're the production manager, the president, the purchasing, sales, you have the ability to see that we are now in process on this job. So the plasma is completed. The bend is in process. We are done on this part. And this part up here is still green, meaning we haven't gotten to it yet. So we're going to go back to our shop floor tool. And I should have mentioned also, this shop floor data capture, just like Color Offload, you can run this on a PC. It's touchscreen capable. You can run it on a laptop. You can run it on a Windows tablet. So you've got lots of options. The biggest option I can tell you is just get the biggest screen size you can. That's always the best thing on the shop floor. You can share this amongst operations, but the best thing is to have one per operator, so that they've always got their tablet or their laptop with them. So I'm going to go ahead and stop this job. I'm going to report that we had 20 parts completed. Prints me a label. This label, like all other reports, fully customizable. So you can have a printer sitting right there next to them if you want to label your parts as you get down there. We're not going to have any breakdown on this one. So now we're just going to finish that operation. We go back here to SigmaMRP. Now we can come down here and see that we are in fact green on that bend operation too. And we're ready for that MIG operation to get started. So coming back here again to shop floor data capture. Let's have our operator get started there. Put in some setup time again. And we are rolling. So if we go back here again, SigmaMRP, keep coming back showing you guys this, but the real key here is you get to see real-time status of when things were started, when they were completed. Let's go ahead and finish these operations up. Go ahead and stop this. I'm going to report 20 good. Again, we could have rejected some parts here. So I finished that. You can see I'm skipping over some other operations out here. I need to complete this other 36, work order 36. We can go ahead and get started. We didn't have any setup time on that one because it was the same setup as the last. A few seconds of time in there. Report 20 good. Again, my label. I'm going to break this one down now because we're done with these two parts. And click finish. And now I'm ready for SigmaMRP tells me what my next jobs are. Back here in the office, you can now see that all of these jobs are done. They've all turned blue. So if we click through part number 1, you can see both the plasma and bend operations are complete. Part number 2 is just the plasma operation. It's complete. Part number 3, we've got 3 complete operations here. So we're ready to ship these parts. Come back here to the job. And we've got different tools we've got some shop floor tools that allow you to do packaging and do all kinds of specific packaging needs in terms of adding boxes, pallets, etc. I'm going to bypass that today, and we're just going to keep it really simple and say, yes, we've shipped this, so we're going to create a bill of lading. And just like all the other reports you've seen here today, we've got a nice picture, we've got the weight, everything's customizable for your units. You're going to see that I am in kilograms here, but we've got that nice delivery note. Only thing left to do is get paid. So we're going to go ahead and add an invoice. We've got to save. Go ahead and see what that invoice looked like. And we've got our invoice. Again, you could email this, you could print it out, put it in an envelope, send it with the parts, however you want to get this done. But you can see how quickly all of this went through without any typing and retyping. So I'm going to close my preview. Let's go back here into the job section. So now we've got our job number 36 here. It's been invoiced. We can see all the operations. If we ever needed to rerun this job, it's very easy just to click on this job, add another order to it. We could add more pieces to it. If you're familiar with SigmaNest, you know that you can do all kinds of things from there with parametric parts, assemblies, bill of materials. All of those seamlessly come into SigmaMRP with no typing. It's just a matter of clicking these drop downs and pulling the parts through. So I'm going to go ahead and mark this job as finished. And just like that, we are ready for the next quote, job, whatever else is going on. So that concludes our brief little webinar here showing you SigmaMRP, showing you how we can quickly pull in SigmaNest parts, add operations, release those jobs to the floor once we get the purchase order from the customer, and then push those jobs through the production environment. That includes SigmaNest for all of your cutting operations, and it includes your press brakes, your welding, your whatever else you want to put in there, drill, tap. You can push it through all those operations. Then we ship the parts and we showed them invoiced, again, without hardly any typing or retyping of data. So that is all for me. Andrew, do we have any questions?
Yeah, let's go and open up the field for questions. Currently, we don't have any right now, Monty, but
Okay.
we'll leave it open here for a few minutes and see if anybody attending has any questions at this point.
Okay.
And
while they're typing their questions, just up here on the screen is my phone number. That's my cell phone. Feel free to give me a call, and we can dive into a lot more details. Show you,